Um,
Like
could be.
Riverside, MVUSD, Corona Norco, all those are down there at the bottom.
Yeah, so we're actually having conversations with those that are doing a little better and kind of figure out what exactly they're doing. And one of the things they're not doing is having a separate school. So, we'll take note of that. 6B is our separate school data. Same chart. You can see it's the same exact data all the way through in the years. Down the middle, you can see that jump from 420 students to 256. So same rules applied. On the right, we did not meet any of the targets. So running across the bottom, let's just take a look at our last data year, 21-22. We had 184 of our preschool students that were in a separate program, either a separate class or a separate school. Divided by our 213 total is 86%. So 86% of our students were in a separate program, and our target is 31% or less. So we had almost triple the number of students in this indicator. So, and that is going down every year, and in 2 years will be expected to be 23% of our students or less. So we have to do something drastic. Again, how do we perform on the county? Unfortunately, we were the highest. You can look in our county, nobody actually met the target for that data year. I put in Chula Vista, they're actually South County, they're not in our county, but they were doing really good. So we wanted to check out what they were doing. They don't have a separate school either. But it is possible to meet the data, to meet the targets. I'm gonna hand it over to Carol.
So you may be thinking, okay, well, what are we doing? So let's talk about that. So in the 1819
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 4. Now on that, because there's so much stuff to cover on that. You heard the opening marks. That was Jason Ramirez, who's head of special ed at Moreno Valley Unified School District. And we'll get into last night's finish up of a almost 8-hour 2-day session on a board meeting. But as you can see, Moreno Valley School District has failed. They are on last in everything and are just about to go bankrupt. And they furthered that on of that. We'll get into that whole mess and continuing to swirl down the toilet known as Moreno Valley Unified School District of that. It's absolutely 100% ridiculous that we find ourselves in the situation where we are failing at everything: special education, suspension rate, student achievement. Kids are dumber than a box of rocks going to MVUSD. On top of that, they are running the school district into bankruptcy, and they don't even care. Don't even comment on it. Keep passing the pay increases and everything. Get on the Titanic and let's see if we can shove it into the bottom of the ocean further. We'll have some updates on the border too, as we said. And Baya caramba, this stuff is... Sometimes I think it's beyond surreal of how we got to this spot everywhere. And, you know, we have a chance to elect Steve Garvey as senator, the first Republican in 30 years. The polls are getting close. We'll have coverage again of the debate. I think it's 28-22. And Katie Porter and Adam Schiff are arguing last night who supports Steve Garvey more. I kid you not. They got in a food fight last night. We'll cover that too, of that and some of the other, well, let's say, interesting things that go on and all things in the Inland Empire, the state of California, United States of America, and every point in between. As we said, it's a failed school district. We'll be going over that meeting again with a fine-tooth comb on that. And I'm not going to replay my remarks on it, but I called for Jesus Holguin to resign from the school board. He's a financial analyst for almost 40 years in San Bernardino School District. He's been on the Moreno Valley Unified School Board District on that. And the sad thing is, not one. C.J. Johnson, Brandy Clark, Susan Smith. Well, Rousseff Williams wasn't there. She explained she already had a vacation scheduled for that. Not one of them would ask him to resign. There, as I said, there's no possible way. On the financial part, we could be at the brink of bankruptcy without Jesus Holguin knowing about it and not saying anything. And even trying to deny it, or, oh, we got to forget what happened in the past and we got to move forward. And all that other noise. How in God's green earth, if we don't deal what happened, or we don't know what happened in the past, we're going to trust Jesus Holguin to solve it now? Or lead the charge? Or put any kind of positive input? No, he's in there now. He's staying in there because he wants to try and cover up his 22 years as a failed school board member and oversaw, that's why I call him the crime boss of the Moreno Valley Crime Syndicate, Unified Crime Syndicate. Passed the illegal financing of the the Vista Del Lago football stadium in 2008. Went attorney shopping so we could justify it. To say we're at critical mass would be an understatement. To say, oh, well, Ollie oxen, that didn't happen. Well, it doesn't matter if it did happen. Or whatever sort of convoluted logic he's trying to use or trying to do it. Again, unless this community gets down there at that school board meeting, you should be marching at every school. You should be burning their phone lines down. Superintendent Robert Verdi, why weren't you notifying us? Yet they sat there last night for 3.5 hours, 4 hours, on top of a 4.5-hour meeting Monday. That's just one combined meeting they were supposed to get through. And they act like that nothing's going wrong. They passed 7% pay increases for everybody. We're running out of cash. It doesn't matter. It's like they really want to wreck the school district and turn it over to the state. Opening, like I said, I'm not going to run my opening comments on that, which I've already pretty much outlined. But the main thing was I called on Jesus Holguin to resign from the school board. It ain't going to get fixed as long as he's sitting there. As long as the crime boss is on that dais, he will be doing everything to cover up everything that he's done in 22 years to destroy not only Moreno Valley Unified School District, but destroy this city. Here's Joanne Steffen with her public comments, talking about the LCAP and the budget, which they seem to ignore. They don't care. 3 out of 4 students are at grade level, not at grade level. That means 3 out of 4 students are not passing the grade, 3rd grade, 9th grade, 11th grade, and they're just moving them on. Oh, that's okay. We're going to make, teachers are making prorated at $175,000 average. Twice as much as they did 50 years ago. Don't get me started on that. I'll go forever. Here's Joanne Steffen. Maybe. Here we go. I think she's rolling.
He was on the fun bus, Roy. The thing is I just asked Dr. Verdi about if we couldn't come back and rescind that 7% raise that was supposed to be doled out to management teachers and the CSEA, which actually is supposed to start going like in July. So if we could get all the fractions together and sit them at the table and kind of hash that out and maybe, just maybe get to some consensus, we can save about 20 million, maybe even more on
that. And I love Joanne's comment, but just so it's clear, that was a retroactive pay raise back to July 1st of 2023. So teachers, classified employees, administrators are going to get a big fat check for 7% of their salary right now in the next week or two. So they're making, I'd say the average teacher is probably going to get a $4,000 check right off the get-go. And then there'll be 7% raise on their salary while the school district is going broke. And, you know, and I put that question to email before the board, did not get an answer from Robert Verde or the school board or Susana Lopez or Arce or any minions over there. Because I said a minimum, if you don't pass that, that's $20 million, probably more like 30. Verde, the superintendent, said we need 20 million over each year for the next 3 years to get back in a positive budget so we don't get the state in here. Yet they probably just passed a $30 million pay increase, which is further going to roll this school district into the ground. So teachers, tell me you care. Oh, it's all about the kids, and we're doing this, and we sacrifice, and we're working slave wages, which is what you claim. Underpaid. You're making over twice what? Adjusted inflation, what your peers did 50 years ago for less than half the grade level student achievement rate. How kids are doing. You are failing. And you're getting paid over twice as much. And you're delivering less than half the output. Tell me how that works. Tell me how you care about these kids. More from Joanne Steffen.
just that. Everybody needs to, and I told him, he thought it was kind of silly, get a mirror and hand it out to everybody and have them look themselves in the face and say, do we really want to save this school district? Or do we just want to go into receivership? Do we want to borrow money? And as far as your credit rating, you're down to nothing.
Joanne Steffen, who's also on our planning commission in Moreno Valley on that, and longtime commenter of all things of the city public policy, not only the school district, but the city, and was hit with a slap suit back in the day in the whole BACA versus MVUSD. They were trying to hammer ones like Joanne Steffen for over 30 years for telling the truth. And she's telling them the truth. What in the hell? Do you really, are you hell-bent on running this school district into the ground? Notice they have no answer. They go 3.5 hours more in this meeting. They do not answer Ms. Steffen one time.
You're not in the 400s as far, who maybe even the 300s. You can't even rent an apartment. I mean, it's crazy to me that anybody's talking about borrowing money. And then how long does it take? Inglewood, 10 years? Compton, how many years? And we're talking about these school districts that were horrible to begin with. Moreno Valley Unified School District didn't get this way until the last quite a few years. And some of these people that were here, they were all on the fun bus with Hogan. I'm sure RC got brought in by the other administration. So did Lopez. Come on.
Just as an aside, you can go to transparentcalifornia.org. That's where all the salaries and benefits for all our public employees. Go to the school districts, K through 12, get to Moreno Valley Unified School District. Just type in the name ARCE, A-R-C-E, I believe. Just as a fun exercise.
Come on. It didn't take me very long to see that we were in trouble. And I just barely started coming. I mean, some of these kids on the LCAP, they're not even college ready. 38.7% are failing miserably. 38% are college ready. Come on, out of 100%. And she wants a desired 60%. She better just start wishing upon a star, because that's not going to happen. I mean, it's nice to say, oh, this is what we want. Yeah, people in hell want ice water, but that don't mean they get it. So, but
I have to laugh because I'd cry, and as I said, that wouldn't look good. Yeah, where's the student? College ready. They're all this and that. They lowered the standards at our California state universities. Oh, algebra, true, that's too hard for the little dears. They might not get their diplomas. Oh, we'll just waive that. College ready. You know, and I really sincerely ask this question of you, the school board members, and you, the teachers, and you, the executive staff, and Arce and Verde, and your boss that you just praised up and down every time, Dr. Martin Rex Keziadora, Susanna Lopez, to Mace Kakich, who was a CBO, to Sergio San Martin, who was the operations manager, and all these clowns that have come through the revolving door and said everything is perfect. Oh, we love you, Doc. Yeah, we love you, Dr. Martin Rex Keziadora. He'd say, oh, I love y'all too. We paying you off to shut up. We're paying you off well to shut up. That's my commentary. My opinion. You come up here and praise me, y'all. And you don't make a ruckus, and you do what you're told. You'll get the payoff. That's what's gone on far too long. It's headed by the crime syndicate, his underboss, C.J. Johnson. Hogan, the crime boss, his underboss, C.J. Johnson, which is a nice guy and everything's all good. And the consigliere, which in the mafia deal is the guy that runs the day-to-day operations, Martin Rex Keziadora. That's why I compare them and call them a crime syndicate. Because undoubtedly, I think the evidence overwhelmingly shows for 22 years that Jesus Hogan, has been on the school board. Moreno Valley Unified has been run like a crime syndicate. Whatever the crime boss says is how it's going to go. And anybody that disagrees will be crushed. They're a little bit harsher in the mafia, but I think you can put it together.
Bottom line is that all these wishing and I hope and no. March 15th is going to be here sooner than we think. So if I were you, I'd be doing that big round table, and I mean round so everybody could look at each other, because they all have a part to play in this. Nobody would get fired. Everybody would keep their jobs. All the schools would be running the way they need to run, and maybe get some people in here that know what they're doing. And if they're not doing up to job performance, then gots to go.
And that was my question. I said, if the pay raise doesn't come in, if you don't pay, if everybody just stays where they're at, no layoffs, no nothing, Of course, they didn't answer that question before the meeting. The 6 hours of tape I made and had to them late Sunday evening, and the 4 hours of tape I made to them of that, they got 10 hours of tape from me from before they passed this budget in June. Through every time that I could find them discussing on there at the school board meeting, the budget and how we're doing and all that. And then we get to this crisis, and one simple action could most likely eliminate all this talk, or at least get us on the path to where, man, we can start figuring it out, crime boss Holguin. You ain't got the No, you know. You are covering this up, I believe, to hide, to cover your tracks. You're hoping you do not get exposed for the destruction you have done, not only to this community, but to every student that's come through this school district in the last 22 years. You've sat up there on that school board, failed miserably. Come in here and defend it. Let's have an honest discussion at this round table, Holguin. Have enough, man up, have enough balls to come in here and explain it. Or explain how you're going to fix it. Because you effed it up.
Is to go. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're not performing at 30, you're performing at 38%. You're not performing at 100%. So bottom line is let's get some people in here that really know what they're doing, that we're not on the fun bus, and that's a solution. That's the solution to the problem. If anybody wants a solution, they can do it. If they don't, then receivership, here we come. Loans, here we come. That's what you're looking at. And we don't care about how we got here. We want to know how we're going to get out of here.
Thank you. Luis Palomares to the podium, please.
And again, the first step to getting out of this is every one of those school board members, Dr. Robert Verde, Esperanza Arce, Susana Lopez, all need to ask Jesus Holguin to resign. Then we got to look at Verde, Lopez, and Arce. Dr. Robert Verde has been there since 2010, 11, came in with Judy White, Kezia Dora, Daryl Scott, Robert Verde, been there for 10, 12, 14 years. They all kind of came in together at the same time. Verde, I believe, knows a lot of what he's been involved in the school district at an executive management level for over 10 years. Time to tell us the truth. You're not informing, as I said, you're not. Where is it that you inform the parents that the school district's about ready to go broke? And exactly, if you put that out in your little Friday message that you took over from Mr. Y'all, or is that should be in a flyer, that should be in your message, that should be a flyer sent home to every kid right now in every school, all 30,000 taking them to their parents. You should be calling up every parent. You should be calling up your parent ambassadors that Mr. Y'all hired, saying, this is it. Call a meeting of your parent ambassadors. Call your PTA gals and dads and inform them of what's going on. You should be holding meetings at every school saying, this is what's going on, this is happening. Zip, zada, nothing. Of course, next up on the hit parade was Louise Palomares. She stepped up to the microphone and
Louise Palomares, community activist. Wow, I don't believe this. You know, we were here rooting for the teachers, but we didn't know all this, how was going on behind the scenes. Who told us? The transparent people here? Transparent staff here? Lopez RC? You know, wish upon a star deal here? These people should resign or be fired because they're the ones that helped get us here. Along with Holguin, like Joanne said, he works for the County of San Bernardino. He knows this stuff. Who knew what when and who was doing what when? Really, on all the Dr. K bandwagon, let's just keep on spending and spending. And look where we're at now. You know, RC, you get an F. Lopez, you get an F. Well, Dr. Kitt's out of here. Him and Dr. White were a tip of the iceberg that brought all this stuff here. You know, spending like no tomorrow.
Yes, Ms. Palomares, I believe, is correct. They all get an F. And that's being very kind, because that's the lowest grade on there. They'd follow the alphabet, they'd get a Z. If we added letters onto the alphabet, that's the grade letter they would get. That is their record. Prove me wrong. Come in here and prove the statistics that you're wrong, that I'm wrong. 3 out of 4 kids are not at grade level in Moreno Valley Unified School District. They have went down under the reign of terror of Dr. Esperanza Arce as chief academic official. Like they went down when Kezia Dora was chief academic official, or Maribel Maddox, or whomever. None of you fought for your kids. None of them fought for the school district. None of them said, go open up them schools. None of those teachers were demanding that they open those schools up and we will teach those kids come hell or high water. No, they sat up with their feet propped up on the kitchen table, not missing a dime through the COVID crisis while 2 years the schools were closed. And your kids lost opportunity they will never recover. And they're still not recovering it, no matter the godzillion, trillions, billions we shoveled into them. It's ridiculously tragic. If any of you are still in doubt about this, this is the local accountability and control plan. You've probably heard me talk about it. You've seen me put some of the stats. That has to do with money set aside in Moreno Valley Unified School District, about $100 million, specifically for kids' education. And the school district has basically, as long as they don't do anything illegal with it, 100% discretion on how to spend that money so students get the education they deserve. They ran a 2-hour presentation after the Dr. Price study session on February 6, 2023. And again, we're flowery, this and that. Edgemont Elementary School is in the tank. We built them a $30 million school. Brand new. This was going to fix it. That's what they said. Measure M and all the stuff we went through it. I said, we can build. It's probably 15, but I'll say 20. For 2/3, we can build a better school in a better location where there isn't much traffic. Back then in 2014, when Measure M was going, we can build an educational facility to educate citizens for the economy and the opportunities in the 21st century. Quit using a 19th century model. If you went through that, $30 million new school, everything is great. Roy didn't know what he's talking about. The student grade level at Edgemont Elementary is so far in the tank, below 100%. I didn't even know how you could get there. Give them everything they wanted. And they can't do it. So this is your Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate. Do the absolute minimum that you have to do after all this, after we heard the school district is going bankrupt, and then they give this flowery report, and they're going to stand on it, that everything they're doing is perfect. that they're improved, that they're doing. And you just heard, not only that, on this, a month later, Jason Ramirez, head of special ed, is saying, we are last. We are failing. They're supposed to they have to, by law, agendize that at a regular meeting, not a study session. So this was a continuance of that. Look how they handle it.
The board reconvened into open session at 7:53 p.m. We are now moving on to is it 2E? E2E, discussion on review of the mid-year LCAP and budget overview for parents. Dr. Arce.
Thank you very much, Ms. Clark. This is in accordance to Senate Bill 114. This is a requirement that now all LEAs, which Moreno Valley Unified School District is, must present a report on the annual update of the Local Control and Accountability Plan, known as the LCAP, and the Budget Overview for Parents, the BOP, on or before February 28 of each year at a regular scheduled board meeting of the governing board or body of the LEA. So our mid-year local control accountability plan and dashboard data was presented to the board on February 6th. So at this time, it just needs to be an item on the agenda, which it is. And if there are any questions at this time from that study session, you can ask. If not, we just need acknowledgement that this is an item on the agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Arce. Mr. Johnson, do you have any questions? Mr. Holkeen.
No, but thank you for including it in this agenda.
Ms. Smith?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. We had that whole presentation where we did ask questions and it was complete, so thank you.
Student board member, Mr. Johnson?
No, thank you.
Dr. Verde?
Not this time. Thanks, Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Arce. We'll be moving on to item F, excuse me.
E3A.
E3.
Less than 2 minutes. We have a budget crisis. We're in receivership. Our kids can't do reading, writing, and arithmetic. And we did the legalese. And that, no questions. None of you board members? Dr. Robert Verde? I don't know why Lopez, this is the second meeting that she's missed. The student member Johnson, no questions. Guess you're okay with it. Don't matter if the school district's going broke. Doesn't matter if the kids don't know that 2 + 2 = 4. No problem. Let's do the minimum requirement. They should have spent 5 hours on this alone. But they enjoy thumbing their nose at you. They enjoy collecting some of the highest salaries across the board in the nation for providing educational services and providing some of the worst results. That is your record. When are you guys going to come clean? When is the school board? When is the executive staff? When are the teachers and the classified employees that know a hell of a lot more of what's going on in the inside because you're there every working day than Joanne Steffen, Louise Palomares, me, myself, or the parents or anything else that know what's going on? They don't even know Let's say listen to this show or they happen to tune into the school board meetings, which is about maybe a couple hundred views. Maybe 20 or 30 people are watching what's going on in this community. They have no idea. To get to the pay raise thing, at the January 23rd meeting, they passed a 7.5% across the board pay increase. Just the salaries without benefits, probably somewhere around $350 million. So that's why I'm coming up with a minimum $20 million if the employees were paid the same. No benefits, just their base salary they're getting on their check every month or every 2 weeks or whatever it comes in. It's got to be at least 20 million, probably closer to 30 when you figure because then that adds extra cost to the benefits, which are about another 120, $50 million a year. So when that pay increase goes up, the benefit costs and stuff go up and the contributions and everything you have to pay in. So there's a lot of more factors to this that most people don't understand. And rightly so. I don't expect most people to grasp this kind of stuff because they haven't been through it. So they're back to finalizing the agreement to raise, they had to do it in 3 administrators, teachers, and classified employees.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the 2023-2024 classified salary schedule and Appendix B1 as presented?
That was the classified employees.
I'll second that.
They're going to
Thank
get
you.
to the
Please
teachers.
call for the vote.
Mr. Johnson,
Oh, aye.
Mr. Holguin,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye, that motion has passed. Moving on to item 4B, 2023-2024 certificated salary schedules. Mr. Barney?
Thank you. Again, sorry for the redundancy. This update in the certificated salary schedule is for the cost of living increase of 7.5% approved by the board January 23rd. The 0.72 increase will be brought forth again at a future meeting, but again, presenting that in that updated salary schedule for your approval.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just a quick question. This item, the previous item and the upcoming item, those 3 are, my assumption is already included in the 8-1200 document that goes to the county office.
Correct.
Thank you.
Additional questions? I'd like to get a motion to approve the 7.5% increase to the 2023-2024 certificated salary schedules effective July 1, 2023 as presented.
So moved.
I will second that.
Please call for the vote.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Holguin,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye, this motion has passed.
What I believe, my opinion, and the crime boss, Jesus O'King, can come in here. What he's doing is setting up the other members and the executive staff. Because he said, is that going into the budget thing that has to go in on March 15th? Yes. So when the S comes down, the crime boss is going to say, well, all these guys are implicated in this thing with me. They voted for it. They knew it was going in. They voted for a 7.5, $20, $30 million pay increase. We're at a point where almost can't pay the bills in Moreno Valley Unified School District. Technically broke. They call it receivership. The state comes in and runs the whole shebang because Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate cannot write checks to pay the exorbitant salaries of the teachers or turn on the lights in the school or whatever, mow the grass or anything. One small concession. I believe it's a CYA. We're trying to make ourselves look good. Dr. Robert Verdi makes it clear that I believe what he's indicated is himself, Arce, and Lopez, the three executive staff members, are not taking the pay raise.
Increase approved on the at the January 23rd meeting of 7.5%, and that schedule is again attached for your approval.
Thank you so much. Dr. Verde, do you have anything to add?
Oh, thanks, Ms. Clark. Just to point this out, and I know our Board of Education understands, but just as a reminder to the public, our cabinet members are not included in this particular salary schedule because they have chosen to defer their salary increase until the springtime after we get a little bit more information back regarding our budgetary situation. And it's no small gesture on their part. We appreciate it. I just want to make that distinction that they are not included in the salary increases for any of these management groups. It's a totally different contract for them. And I just want to applaud them for their leadership and their hard work, and that we will get to that in the spring. I just wanted to mention that. Thanks, Ms. Clark.
Thank you, and thank you for that. Any questions?
I'd like to say thank you because I know that our superintendent and cabinet members are not the highest paid in Riverside County, far, far from it. So we appreciate you're doing what you can to help us out. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I agree with that too. I need to make sure I voice my opinion. Really appreciate what you guys are doing. I mean, thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thanks so much for doing that.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve 2000?
So they approved that. And okay, so we saved about $15,000 or $20,000 of them not taking the pay increase. Why aren't you slashing their salaries in that? Go look, that Jason Ramirez, just go look on, and anybody could do that, transparentcalifornia.org. Get down to, K through 12 school districts. Go to Riverside County, I believe, then Moreno Valley Unified School District. You just click on the salaries and it'll come up, or you can type somebody's name in. Look at what Jason Ramirez, head of special ed, makes. Total compensation package. Or any of them. Just check her out. That's public record. And they have and they're down to 2022. Who knows what they made in 23? Now in the 23-24, they're getting a 7% shot of heroin called cash because we're the entitled. Why wasn't it discussed at that meeting? And I had the email question in. If we forego the 7% pay raise, does our budget at Moreno Valley Unified go from qualified back to positive? And as Joanne Steffen said, why isn't there a roundtable out in public discussing this? CSEA, Classified Union, MVA, Moreno Valley Educators Association, teachers, administrators, sitting at that in a study session like they did with Dr. Price to hear this. And like I said, the CSCA, the classified, said, hey, we don't want anybody cut. They're the cats that got cut. More from the meeting. Here we go.
Thank you, President Clark. So the NSIP, as you may be well aware, is an early notification of separation. We were able to reach an understanding with our Mr. Caban and Mr. Taylor in regards to an early notification, which helps us in our staffing projections and planning, especially at this time, regarding our recruiting and our efforts to reduce impact on the budget. So this is a little bit different than the previous one with MVA, in that you'll see that there is some prorated, the $2,000 incentive is prorated based on the hours and the assignment of the classified employee.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, have you been getting some response to this early notification?
We have overall, we've got a number of responses classified. This has not been out very long, so we anticipate more coming in as that March 1st deadline approaches. We're hopeful to get more and more each day.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments?
No.
Not at this time. Okay, can I get a motion?
The classified employees, which are the ones that keep the grounds running, do the repairs, the maintenance, the food workers, everybody, janitors. Some of them got 50% cut in pay, whether they were declassified or whatever. How many teachers got that? How many teachers lost about? No, they all got a 7.5% pay raise. How many administrators got cut? You're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and fairness, and accountability, and those evil white hillbillies. Why don't the teachers who make, say, 1,700 employees, I think about even, teachers versus the classified, they got about roughly the same amount of employees. The classified teachers make about 70% of that $350 million of that money. Classified employees only make about 30%. It's actually a little less, but I'm trying to be even a little nicer. So they make over 2 to 1, about 2.5 to 1 over what the classified guys get. They're not taking any cuts, or they cut them, they're hollering like, screaming like bloody murder. Look at the last 2 previous meetings. The ones that wouldn't it affect the most, that could take a little more damage, the teachers and the administrators are saying, hell no, those guys down the lower end of the totem pole, screw you, you guys are going to eat it. That's the Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate. The upper echelon get theirs. If there's any crumbs left, you minions on the bottom will get it. So we're down to closing comments. Of course, I asked at the beginning for all the other 4 board members, starting with CJ Johnson, to ask the crime boss Jesus Holguin to resign. This is his closing comment.
I will second that.
Please call for the vote.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Holguin,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Clark.
Aye. Moving on to item 3G, future agenda topics and comments from board and the superintendent. We will start with you, Mr. Johnson.
Actually, I really don't have anything. But
I really don't have anything. You said I really don't have anything. But you really, CJ, you don't have anything? You don't have anything. That sounds like a dude that's confident, knows what he's doing, or isn't covering something up. We ask the question.
I would like to say that there's something about this group that I really feel comfortable with. I really like the makeup. It just, it just happened, but it's a pleasure working with everybody that's here tonight. It is really a pleasure. I don't think I could say it any better or say any other word other than what I've already said. It's a pleasure working with this particular group. Really appreciate it. You could feel the care that the group holds for each other. And I think that's one of the things that I really prefer, really like the most. So, with that being said, that's it.
Thank you, Ms.
I really like this group. I like working together. What, you love working together to destroy the school district to kill the future of the students of 30,000 plus at Moreno Valley Unified? You enjoy that? Enjoy the group that's working to do that? I will give a little credit to the three ladies. They're at least trying. But this trying is not good enough in this situation. We need answers. We need the truth. We need all the cards laid up on the table now. Who did what? Of course, that was the underboss of the crime syndicate, C.J. Johnson speaking. Here's the crime boss of the Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate, Jesus Hogan.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Hoking?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say thank you to the administration for putting the items on the agenda that needed to be brought forward for approval this evening, especially those that are related to the to the financial difficulties the district is having. And I think that we could go a lot into explaining the situation with the financial condition, but I think it was stated very clearly at the study session in a subsequent meeting. The board and the county office staff went into the details, and a lot of different elements went into bringing the district in this situation. I think I could go into a lot of explanations, but I don't think it is necessary.
I could go into a lot of explanations on why we're on the verge of bankruptcy. Of course you can, because you're an expert in this industry. You worked in it for 40 years. You've been on the Moreno Valley Unified School Board of Education for 22 freaking years. But you don't think it's necessary? You don't think it's necessary that we know who, what, and why got us into this situation so we could possibly try and untangle it, or know who not to trust or who to trust? Maybe because that trust starts right here with you, crime boss. Boy, if this isn't a cover-up, I don't know what is.
Has been presented, but my point is to thank again the administration, the business department, human resources, the student services for putting together plans and working together along with the employee groups to make sure that as many corners are covered as possible.
They worked with all the employee groups as they're going bankrupt to put in a 7+% raise, crime boss. That's working together. You told them the truth. They're saying you guys were not telling us. You told us it was a law. The union guys, Ferris, Gregorio, Daniel, Dwight Taylor, they say you told us it was the lawsuits that were giving us this problem. Took Dr. Price from the county, Riverside County Board of Education, to come out there and tell them the truth. You didn't. Susana Lopez didn't, according to them. Robert Verde didn't. Dr. Matt Mexicadora never did, according to them. Esperanza Arce didn't. Say, oh, everything's hunky-dory. Oh, pop the champagne corks. Oh, you need, and chase it down with some whiskey. Party hardy. On the fun bus, as Joanne Steffen said, we'll ride it till it runs off the cliff. More from the crime boss, Jesus Hogan.
And there's still some time to look for more. We just heard about the retirement, possible retirement. So that's another piece that is going to be helpful. And just to make sure that the district hopefully can recover from that list that was approved, or that resolution that was approved at the previous meeting. So thank you everyone for working together, addressing those issues. And I think we've talked about several items, opportunities to restructure the entire organization as we move forward. I heard several times tonight that it doesn't matter how it happened, how we got here. What matters is how we get out of here and move forward. So hopefully we can focus on that. And I think we have great opportunities in the future. Great things are happening, continue happening in the district, recognitions and things of that nature. So thank you again. And
It doesn't matter how it happened. We're going to work together in the future. Holy caramba. How do we know? We don't even know who caused this or how it got to that point. Well, we have a pretty darn good idea. Maybe that's why you don't want anyone to look at why this happened in the past, Crime Boss Holguin, because you were the leader orchestrating it, along with your bud, Martin Rex Keziadora. Why don't we start there? Oh, no, don't look at what anything we did. Don't look at anything in the past. Don't look at that. Let's not go back and see if we can prevent making the mistakes of the past or possibly replacing those who led the charge in the mistakes of the past. No, don't look at that. The crime boss has spoken. Susan Smith is coming.
let's
next.
continue working together and moving forward. Thank you, Ms. Clark.
We cannot move forward unless we haven't even identified all of the problem yet. Crime boss Susan Smith's coming up next.
Thank you, Mr. Holguin. Ms. Smith?
Yes, thank you. It's been a long, long meeting. We had all those hours last week and then another 3.5 hours tonight. So, but I appreciate everyone who's been here, people that were put off last week and had to come back this week, and whether they could come or not. And I appreciate their patience with us and with the board. And I still, as you know, I'm not thrilled about layoffs or changing anybody's salary or moving anybody to a different position. I think sometimes we do things we have to do, and it's never our intention to hurt anybody or make anybody suffer because of what we're doing here. We need to do the best thing we can do for our school district. We have seen
So is not, and Susan Smith, please come in. The first thing, if not getting rid of Jesus Holguin, are you not asking Jesus Holguin to resign? Tell me how that's not going to fix it. Or you think Holguin's innocent in this? After you've said you're not ace on the budgets, I get that. He is. Are you not asking him why and how in the hell did we get here?
over the last few years, we've seen positions expand at the same time that enrollment was declining. We can't do that forever. We can't keep adding more and more jobs with less and less funding.
I said that practically, well, let's say at the majority of the meetings since you've been on the school board, Ms. Smith. Why does it take to get to this point? And again, moving forward, are you going to start listening to the ones who told you this was going to happen, that you couldn't do this? You had declining enrollment. Just like you couldn't have done the 5th high school, yet that school district dumped $20 million in 60 acres of dirt. And cost this district not only an extra 200 million in Measure M money that's been spent that did not have to be spent, that did not have to be taxed on the citizens, and we could have had more facilities at lower cost had we had a little bit of fiscal responsibility, a little bit of fiscal foresight. What day are you going to listen to those voices and those ones that come up there and told you were going to be in the spot if you kept doing what you were doing?
And I think we have now at this time hit a wall where we really have found out that we just can't continue to do this, and we need to make some cuts. So I hope that with the retirements, with the people that have decided to leave for one reason or another, that maybe we can move back from some of these cuts that were.
Cuts? You won't even roll back the increase. You won't even just say no increases. Cuts? How are we going to get to cuts when you're bumping salaries up? The biggest expense in that whole budget, 86% of the general slush fund, $400 million, is salaries and benefits. And you're raising them. How in the hell can you justify that in the financial condition, almost bankruptcy, Moreno Valley Unified is in?
Were approved last week and continue to move ahead. We can't continue massive out-of-control spending into an infinite future.
We can't control massive out-of-control spending into the future. Quote from board member Susan Smith, February 20th, 2024. I'm at least grateful we can admit that. Now we know from a school board member who's been there for what, 7 years, 6 years, 2016, 8 years? Elected in November of 2016, Susan Smith is in the school board. We cannot continue out of control spending. That means we were spending out of control. Because you can't continue something that wasn't there.
We need to make difficult decisions, and I have not voted with the majority of the board on some of those decisions, and continue to have an.
Yeah, we do need to make those difficult decisions. Precisely.
Some of those things do where you're donating and then they take 10% or something. It's not like that. There is a little, they do have you pay the credit card fee. Then there's an opportunity to give a tip to Give Butter, which I reduced that considerably because I wanted my money to go to Canyon Springs. So if you can do that, I'd encourage everyone out there to do that. And I'll see you all then on the 29th. And if you're not there on the 29th, just give a donation. You can do that too. If you don't want to go to the gala, you can just go in and donate. So
holding out the tin cup.
On February 29th, I was able to go online today and order a couple of tickets.
I mean, okay. Randy Clark is up, and we're getting close to the end of the closing comments. We're not going to get too much into the Senate debate, but we'll handle that more tomorrow. Of that, it's important we get through the crime syndicates stuff going on of that. But this is Brandy Clark, the president of the Moreno Valley Unified School District, on her closing comments.
Everyone tonight. I agree with Mr. Johnson that we have a great group here, so thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
I got to disagree with you on that, Susan. It's not a great group. Not any group that has Jesus Holguin, the crime boss, in it. And I like CJ Johnson a lot. I think he's got good intentions. But for him to go along for the past 14 years with the crime boss, and he still refuses to know what he knows. He sat in all those meetings. He's looked at those reports. He's seen us go from almost terrible to almost complete collapse. Yet he's still trying to stick up for the crime boss, or will not tell the truth. Or maybe he believes the crime boss has done everything right, or the crime boss has no complicity in this issue.
Mr. Johnson?
This is the student member.
I just want to say thank you to the board, cabinet, community members, leadership, district staff. Through everything you guys say, your actions, we can truly tell that you guys are doing what's best for us. So no matter what, just know that we see your work, we love it, and we thank you guys.
Mr. Johnson, I mean, I know you and your cohort, Mr. Corona, never talk to me or walk by. Don't even say hi. Which, whatever, that's your prerogative. You think running your school district into financial ruin, 3 out of 4 kids not at grade level is just hunky-dory, they're doing a great job? I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but I just want to know your reasoning on why you're saying that. I just want to know why. You can come on in. We'll have a discussion about it. Brandy Clark. Now Brandy Clark is coming up. Next.
Thank you so much. I'll go. Great meeting. Glad y'all came. Again, I'm so looking forward to the wellness. I'm just going to call it the wellness hub until I know the exact term that we're going to use for this amazing opportunity and trailblazing efforts of our district. So I'm excited. This is awesome. So, and again, I agree with all of us. We have a great group. I think this is a tough job to sit in this seat, but looking at those faces and looking at the kiddos every day and just seeing your passion, it's worth it. So thank you guys for all your hard work. And Claudia, kudos and thank you for working for us on the weekend. Stop if you can, but wow, do we appreciate you, and we really, really do love you. Thank you, Dr. Verdi, for this amazing job you've been doing, and I want to just give you accolades. I know you don't like the spotlight. Dr. Verdi, he's real cool, calm and collect, so he doesn't like the spotlight too much, but he's doing a great job, and I want to say thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
There are a few things that I do want to see in the future. As the president, I'd like to say that there are a couple of things that I want to happen in the near future, whenever we can fit that into our schedule, hopefully by the next meeting. I would like to change the agenda around a little bit. I haven't spoke with Dr. Verdi yet, so this is a surprise, the aha moment, but I would like to invite the unions or the employee groups up to have like 5 minutes to present. So I add them as a standing item on the agenda for CESA, MBEA, the management group, and so on and so forth. If you don't have anything to present, that's fine, but I want you to know that you have the floor for a time to present anything or ask the board any questions that you may have on the go forward. I know Dr. Susana Lopez isn't here right now, but again, we addressed that we would like to have something on the budget every single meeting. So let's make sure that we do that. And then this can wait.
That's a good idea. I mean, they do it at most school districts. The syndicate has not done it. But again, I've said they should have a panel, a committee, not really that, just experts in the community outside the school district come in and maybe just have oversight. Let's have we have a citizens bond oversight committee over the Measure M. How about a citizens oversight committee over the school district? And maybe they could give a 5-minute report at each board meeting. And maybe they will have some powers to get documents or interviews or be able to question or tour facilities or find out what's going on. Maybe that would be a good idea. I've suggested that many times. Maybe that could be a future board agenda item. We will see if it gets on.
For another meeting, but this is something I'm thinking about. So when we were talking about the bumping of employees and how we're saving money and transparency, for transparency, I would like to see how that rolls out. What's the true dollar? Who are the true employees that will get laid off, right? So if A is bumping B, where does B land? And who is B, right? So I would like us to look at that. Don't forget about the survey. It should be coming up soon. We'll provide more details as they come. And that is about it. So thank you guys. Have a great evening. Dr. Verdi?
Which they should. Why hasn't this been done before is a good question, but yeah, let's have a discussion. That's why you should have more than one board meeting every 6 weeks, or then you get one and it's stacked. It took you 2 days and over 8 hours, I believe, to get through one agenda, and you're only doing it once a month. This school board should have at least 2 and probably 3 regular board meetings a month based on what they got. Should be having 2 study sessions, and they should not be intentionally conflicting them with like the city of Moreno Valley or Val Verde or other local agencies. So many of us cannot attend or make it extremely difficult to throw in our 3 cents, which we know. And that's an indication no matter what you say. And you've done it for decades. You continue to do it. That you do not want to hear from us. You do not want to hear from Luis Palomares. You don't want to hear from Joanne Steffen. Because you make it increasingly difficult for us to do that. So I hope this transparency, or this, which I applaud, letting the union guys come up, let's work this. Where's that citizens school district oversight committee? You don't think that's necessary given our student achievement rates and our financial conditions?
Well, thanks, Ms. Clark, and I appreciate your comments. And I guess, like Ms. Clark kind of alluded to, the spotlight. I always like to, and I guess, my whole career in education has been kind of like this. When I was a coach, when I was a teacher, you gave credit to your students, to your assistants. When I was a principal, the credit always went to the assistant principals. And, even in this role, I really think about the cabinet we have here, the leadership of our board, and I appreciate just the faith that they are showing in this team right now. That means the world to all of us. To the folks who presented tonight, we know that the board's not afraid to ask tough questions, but they have faith in the people presenting that they're going to do the things to create positive change. And I do believe.
I just got tough questions. What questions? Other than, we're just such a great group, and LCAP, budget overview. We don't want to. Let's get that up. Get rid of that. The reckless disregard. And there's Robert Verdi. He's been a teacher, been a principal, HR director, now superintendent. Again, Mr. Verdi, tell the truth. You know much more. You came in with Martin Rex, Cassie Dora, and Judy White, Daryl Scott. And nobody knows everything, but you know 98.7% of it, bud. Time to come clean.
That this team will continue to do the things in our district to create the positive change. And like Student Board Member Johnson said, continue to make the students proud of the leadership in this district. No one wants to relinquish the leadership roles that we have here. We feel very, very confident in our team and that we can do right by our students. So we appreciate the faith that our board has in us. Thank you, Ms. Clark.
We're doing a bang-up job over here. Students can't pass grade level. School district going bankrupt. Won't tell them, if we just don't do this pay increase, maybe we can hold off the wolves, stabilize this deal, do the least amount of damage, keep everybody working, and we'll try and figure this out. Can't even do something as simple as that. You're the superintendent, the head guy of day-to-day operations and everything Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate is. Come clean, Mr. Verde. I want to get to we only got hour and a half just to get through the almost hour and 15 minutes we spent on the crime syndicate over there. Yeah, I thought I was only getting. I thought, I can get this done half an hour. I want to get to that. We'll probably pick it up tomorrow. Get more into the nuts and bolts of the Senate race in California. Voting is ongoing. It will be going on till March 5th on not only the Senate race, but lots of, everything from presidential primary down to Senate race, your assembly member, half the Senate, California State Senate, local measures, county supervisors, sheriffs, your local city councils, school, some of them like Riverside that are on this election cycle. There may be some taxes, bonds, throw it in there. We got Prop 1. They're trying to fleece us for more money to make the vagrancy and crisis worse. No on Proposition 1. They're still conning the people. I don't know. It may be California just might be a lost cause. Who knows? If they vote for this, it's leading the polls by 2/3. I mean, barring a miracle, it's going to pass, but you never know. There's been some surprises like the 1982 California gubernatorial election of Tom Bradley versus George Duke Dumajian of that. We'll get into the history of that later. But the intriguing thing is, in the latest polling out shows Steve Garvey gaining steam on Adam Schiff. I think he's at 28%. Garv's up to 22%. Katie Porter's sinking like a rock. Schiff's been kind of quasi, he's kind of taking shots at Garvey, but really he's trying to build Garvey's name recognition because he doesn't want to run against Katie Porter, the psycho chick congresswoman from Orange County. So he thinks he's got a better shot as Steve Garvey because of the Democratic state, deep blue, all that. So he started running ads quasi promoting Steve Garvey for Senate. Katie Porter had a freaking meltdown. She's been having them. Well, it doesn't take much for Porter to have a meltdown, but she was criticizing Schiff and that. Now, Eric Early, and I love Eric Early, great guy. I wish he actually had a shot. Agree with him most of the time. He's got no shot. We can get Garvey in as the senator. He's within the margin of error. Plus or minus 4 points. He could win and be the United States Senator from California. First, even halfway decent thinking person we may have in 30 years up there, or not a crook. And we got this opportunity to get Steve Garvey in and shift the balance of power in the United States Senate. Because there's 2 on the ballot, 2 votes on the ballot. One is the top 2, which we always have. You run in the primary, the top 2 move on to November, and there you go. Second question is, who fills out the term from the late Dianne Feinstein from here to November? So we are going to have an elected senator after March 5th in California, it's probably going to be either Adam Schiff or Steve Garvey. So unless you want pencil neck lying Adam Schiff as your senator, you better vote for Steve Garvey. California is not going to go from one end to the other. Now, Katie Porter is trying to promote Eric Early and running ads for him, or quasi de facto saying, "Oh, Steve Garvey's not conservative enough. You got to have he voted for Trump twice. Remember they were roasting this? Oh, Eric Early's total MAGA." Garvey may have a couple redeeming qualities on there. Here's the after party, and we'll get into the debate tomorrow. But we'll get into the after. This is the after party interviews after the debate from Channel 4, basically ran it. Colin Nolan, Colleen Williams, and I don't remember the one from Telemundo. But she wasn't. The Telemundo chick wasn't in on the after party interviews or what I saw. It was just Colin Nolan and Colleen Williams. But here's the question, and Colin Nolan's pretty good. I mean, he's not a firebrand like me, but he usually has very good questions to ask on that. And he does KNBC news conference on Sunday, dealing usually with our local or state politics. I mean, I got no gripes with Colin Nolan. He's a pretty good guy for what you're going to get in the Mockingbird media. That's about it. He's about as good as you're going to get. But here's Katie Porter.
A second on the politics of the top two system. I mean, it's a little inside baseball, but Adam Schiff has been spending money designed to elevate Steve Garvey's position within the Republican Party so that he'll be his opponent in the fall. And with a 2-to-1 registration advantage in California, that's a surefire win for him. You criticized that initially. Now you even mentioned Eric Early, another Republican, very conservative, hoping obviously to bring down Steve Garvey's numbers. Is this a flaw in the system where Democrats are now trying to pump up a Republican so you can drag him with you to the fall campaign and ensure your victory?
Well, the situations are not the same.
That was a great question by Colin Nolan. Hey, you're doing exactly the same thing. Now you're criticizing Schiff for promoting Garvey. Now you're promoting Eric Early. I mean, who'd have thought that Democrats, this is how bizarre California and our politics is getting. Now Democrats are promoting Republicans. Not that I don't like the sport. If the miracle of all miracles in politics, at least in the last few years in California, if this winds up electing Steve Garvey as the U.S. Senator to fill out the term till November, I am going to laugh my ass off so hard, because it's going to be on the backs of Katie Porter and Adam Pencilneck Schiff lying, as the U.S. Congress said, lied to 330 million people. Adam Schiff. This is going to be one of the most ironic things that ever happened in our politics, at least in the last few years. I encourage everybody, vote for Steve Garvey on that ballot both times, twice. Get him in the runoff. Get him elected as senator, United States Senator from California. And I realized the Garvs, they went through the gun control and all that. And I realized I even am going to factor in he's going to be a disappointment. He's not going to be probably 75% inclined or plus from where I'm at. But that's a far cry from somebody from Maryland. We gave Maryland a third senator who I maybe agree with 1 point 3% of the time. If I'm 50% plus on Garvey, that's what I call a building block to build on. And maybe in the future we can get back to
40 seconds. 40 seconds.
Eric Early, like we did Sam Hayakawa and others before that. As you heard Jesse say, the 30 seconds will be joining the Mighty Met Kate, MET on that. Hopefully we'll have Susan Shelley on, as we usually do on a Wednesday. We'll discuss with her a lot of the upcoming stuff going on in all things politics and Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and all that other good stuff on that, as we usually have today.
All right, we have 5 seconds. Here we go.
There we go.
Online at hiebanning.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and opinions expressed are those of the program producer.
There's a funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM. Joining our vast video audience in the Evil FB Network and Rumble. Check us out, subscribe, type NI Newswire on Rumble. Of that, and I think we're even on YouTube on there. I always decided I wanted to irritate those folks again. A few times we covered mostly the failed policies of the Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate. They had a school board meeting last night. Basically, no discussion of the impending financial bankruptcy and the student achievement bankruptcy that is at the doorstep of Moreno Valley Unified School District right now. Again, they're not informing anybody, and I don't blame the parents. They probably, most of, I bet you 98.7% of them don't even know what's going on, because school board, administration, teachers, principals are not informing the parents and the kids of what the hell's going on. If they let it go any further, they will be paying attention, because when the state administrator comes in and he's basically the dictator of the district, you won't have any source of complaints. Whatever they say will go. And that's just the way it is. And they are this close to being Inglewood and Compton. Moreno Valley Unified is this close to being Inglewood and Compton Unified. It's 10 years and Inglewood is still in receivership. It took Compton 8 years to get out of it. And my, oh my, it's, don't know. It'll be that. We covered, and we'll hopefully tomorrow we'll get into more of the Senate debate, California Senate debate, and how important was that. We did cover the ironic stuff of how Katie Porter and Adam Schiff are actually promoting Steve Garvey. Democrats promoting Steve Garvey for Senate on that. It's it just goes to show how bizarro our politics have become and which direction we're coming. I'd have never guessed this one. Where, I mean, I've seen it before in strategy plays on that they've done that, not to this extent, where you've got the two top Democrat candidates are trying to outdo each other, promoting the Republican candidate on this deal. It's absolutely fascinating how our body politics is working on that. But man, oh man, oh man, it's something that we will never, ever forget. I believe on that. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But we're looking at one of the all-time greatest and sometimes fabulous, bizarre of our California politics. But as we usually do on a Wednesday, we have the famed editorial writer and columnist for the Press Enterprise, San Bernardino Sun, Inland Daily Bulletin, Redlands Daily Facts. More important to me, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Susan Shelley. Welcome to IE Newswire with Roy.
Thank you, Roy. Great to be with you.
I caught a little bit of the Senate debate, most of it today on that. What I find, and like I said, the fascinating, and I'd like to get your take on it, the fascinating part of this is we have Adam Schiff, Democrat, who's the leading Democrat on, maybe winning the short term and the long term of that. Then basically promoting Steve Garvey because he doesn't want Katie Porter, the Orange County congressman, to run against him. He thinks he can beat Steve Garvey easier. So whatever. Now, Katie Porter's promoting Eric Early, the other Republican, saying Steve Garvey, who voted twice for Donald Trump, isn't conservative enough or isn't MAGA enough. Vote for Eric Early. We have two Democrats who are promoting Republicans for the U.S. Senate. How much more bizarre or crazy can California politics get, Susan Shelley?
Oh, it is crazy. Well, this is the top two primary. This is the math for the top two primary. And the game is, how do you get the votes split among your opponents or among your own side? How do you get the votes split up so that you get into the top two and the person you most want to run against gets into the top two? Now, this worked for Gavin Newsom in 2018 when he did not want to run against another Democrat, the former mayor of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa. He wanted to run against a Republican. He didn't really care which one. He said so. He said, anybody with an R will do. So there was Travis Allen and there was John Cox. And he did a bunch of commercials to elevate John Cox because Travis Allen, I guess, had enough conservative support that he might have split that vote, and Villaraigosa might have nudged into second place. So it worked. Now, it's kind of a high-stakes strategy. You never really know what's going to happen, but that's what's going on. So Adam Schiff has a lot of money, and he's going to do commercials promoting Steve Garvey, but Katie Porter did the math on her whiteboard, and she figured out if she could take enough votes from Steve Garvey and put them over to Eric Early, then maybe she can nudge herself into second place. That's what's going on. It's kind of crazy. The other thing that's a little crazy is they're not going to really attack Steve Garvey. You'll notice that they're very, very kid gloves in handling him. And the reason is because whoever ends up in second place, if it's not Garvey, is going to want his endorsement. Because statewide, there's a big chunk of Republican voters who will have no candidate if there are two Democrats in that race. So what they want to do is make sure they're on good terms and they can get Steve Garvey's endorsement. The other Democrat is in second place. And the same with Adam Schiff. If he's in first place, if that's how it turns out, he's going to want Steve Garvey's endorsement because that's a big chunk of votes. There were 6 million Californians who voted for Donald Trump in the last election. And while the turnout probably won't be that big, it's a lot of votes. So we'll see.
And I know people have thought I'm absolutely nuts, but I've said Steve Garvey's got a shot not only to get in the top two, but actually win the fill-out seat, which, there's two questions on the U.S. Senate ballot. One, that is the primary, basically, as we did, the top two move on to November, and here we go. But there's also the second question of who fills out the term from the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. So we will have a new senator one way or the other. I think, and I've said this, and it's working out like I didn't really predict this was actually going to happen, but I said Steve's got a chance. If all the Republicans or center-right people vote for Steve Garvey, he'll be the senator in November 5th, or coming March 5th, at least till November. And by that, if he's in the top two, he's got a better shot of actually winning that, and we all don't know how things are at. But the latest polls coming out, again, Garvey's gaining ground. Now it's 28 Schiff, 22 Steve Garvey right now. So he's within the margin of error of being elected United States Senator on March 5th. Susan Shelley, what do you say?
Well, now I'm confused. Let me just be totally honest with you. Is it a for the remainder of Dianne Feinstein's term, does March 5th settle it, or does
Yes.
it go?
Whoever,
It settles it.
that's how
So-
Dianne Feinstein got in, because Pete Wilson was elected governor. He was a sitting senator. He was elected governor in 1990. So they had a special election. Our California law is, whenever the seat is, and a Senate seat is vacated, the governor can appoint, like he did. He gave Maryland the third senator this time, but he can appoint. But on the next regularly scheduled election, be it primary or general, the vote is on to fill out the remainder of that term. So that's what that second deal is. And I know it's confusing, but there's two votes. One
But
is, yes.
Isn't it two votes in two elections? Isn't it?
Yes, there's two separate ballots. One is the primary. You'll notice there's a lot more candidates running for the November position. And the top two move no matter what. There will not be an whoever wins the top two in that ballot proposition, or however you say it, will go to November. The second one is to fill out the remaining term of the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. So there's going to be a new senator seated on March 5th in California. Whoever that Maryland chick is, she's gone, because she's not running. So if Steve Garvey is elected as the senator, which I think he's got a good chance of doing, and maybe not the favorite, but he's got a shot. If he's elected, and he gets in the top two, he will be the incumbent senator going into the November election, which gives him a more advantage. Not saying he's going to win, but that starts to get him a path to victory. I see, especially against Schiff, because if there was any candidate you could, let's say, run a negative campaign against, it's Adam Schiff. But that's where we're at. And I know people don't get. That's why I say, and that would shift the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. California on March 5th could shift the balance of power in the United States Senate and turn it back to Republican.
Well, I didn't realize that. I thought that both races were in March and then again in November.
No. The one to fill out Feinstein's term is over, and whoever wins that fills out the rest of the term.
Even if nobody gets 50% plus
yes,
one?
That's a everybody in. Whoever wins. There's like 10 or 12 candidates, so you could probably win with less than 10% of the vote if it all split up even.
Well, that's very interesting. That would certainly be a game changer, wouldn't it? If he ran as an incumbent in November, that would be a big game changer.
That's what I've been saying. If he's got a shot, that's why I say he had a path to victory, not only in this, but then if he's the incumbent senator, you know this, and this is more the nuts and the bolts and the weeds of this stuff. If he's the incumbent senator, there's going to be lots of people at the United States Senate, the most powerful elected body probably in the world, and you're only one of 100. There's going to be a lot of people, even in that 6-month period, that are going to give Steve Garvey a lot of money, because he's going to be doing a lot of votes that are going to affect a lot of things. $7 trillion worth of budgets going on here. So that's no small potatoes. There are going to be a lot of people, no matter, even if they think Steve Garvey's going to lose in November, even to Adam Schiff, they're going to be willing to give Steve Garvey a lot of money because they're going to want to vote. That's just a plain, let's just cut to the chase of this. So that's why I'm saying, if Steve Garvey's the incumbent senator going in, he's got a shot, because he will be able to raise the money to run in November against Adam Schiff or Katie Porter or whoever. Susan.
Well, that is very interesting. So it certainly is something to consider, and it would be a big game changer, as you say, to have a Republican incumbent running in November. That would be very interesting.
It is, and that's why I've been beating the drum. Vote Steve Garvey twice. You don't have to understand it. Just vote both of those Senate deals. Vote for Steve Garvey. I want to get to your column, because you wrote about the judicial candidates in LA County, but we're kind of a Riverside, San Bernardino, Inland Empire, but it's all the same. It's people don't, and I've said this of that, and when you get to this, it could be argued, and I've argued the case. It's the least, people pay least amount of attention, don't know anything about the judges. that could be some of the most, if not the most important thing you vote on your ballot, because that's going to affect your local community. And we can go with the vagrancy and everything else that happens and the crime and everything else. But it's very important for us to focus on our judicial appointments, because even though you might not think so, it's going to have a big impact on yours and everybody's lives, Susan Shelley.
Well, that's very true, and it's really important. And as you said, nobody knows what to do with the judges. Everybody always calls me and says, "What about the judges?" So, I'm fortunate to know Charles and Martha House, who are Republican activists, and they put together a forum for judicial candidates in every election, and they've been doing this since 1994. And so I was able to take the material that they put together. I didn't put it together. They put it together, and they got the recommendations from former LA County Supervisor Mike Antonovich, former DA Steve Cooley, retired U.S. District Judge Robert Bonner, and then they combined that with the recommendations from the LA County Bar Association, the ratings, the evaluations on who's qualified or not, and also Metropolitan News, which is a Los Angeles legal newspaper. And they put all of that together in a chart and distributed it to their Republican mailing list. So I was able to take that, giving them full credit for it, and just report what they found and give people some guidance in the newspaper about where to go if you're looking for conservative recommendations.
So yeah, do you know it? Is that an LA County only, or do they do it for every county or some, or is that just a Pacific, that group just works LA County?
Just LA County. Now, there may be other groups that do this in Orange County and Riverside and San Bernardino, but I'm not aware of it. So if you're aware of it, let me know, and I'll try to publicize that.
I do. I've checked them. I don't have them that right here, but that, and I agree. People ask. I get the same question of a lot of races, but judges especially. Almost, I'd say 98.7% of the people, and I'm probably being kind, they have no idea who they're voting for. It's getting a little better. Out here in Riverside County and San Bernardino County, we've actually started promoting some of the judge candidate. Well, no, I don't know. I don't want to get into the election laws, but okay, this candidate, vote for this candidate versus that. So it is turning. But yeah, you got to work. You got to work to find out where these judges stand that you're voting on. It is a very difficult process, and you guys in LA County, bless you for getting a group together to do this, because what I'm saying is I'd like to talk to those guys to see how we could expand that into every count, all the 58 counties in California, because there's a desperate need all across the board for groups like this that are going to analyze and say, hey, this is who we recommend for judges on that, Susan Shelley.
It's really true. Now, you can look up the finances. If you want to see their campaign finance report, that's easy online. You can look it up at cal-access.sos.ca.gov, and you just put in the last name and the word judge, and you'll get their campaign committee, and you can click on that, and you can see there's a category that says late and $5,000 contributions. And if you click that little button and click search, it will bring up all of the people who donated since the last large amount since the last report, and also anything over $5,000. So if you want to know if someone is being bought, which they're usually not, but if you want to know who is donating to these judges to get them elected, sometimes there's a little bit of insight in that. For example, one of the judges in Los Angeles County took a $5,000 contribution from an attorney with Johnny Cochran's law firm, the late Johnny Cochran's law firm, and in his bio he says that he has defended 200 clients against police brutality or police misconduct cases. So you know that this is a judge who is going to be inclined to rule against the police more often than not, or at least you could infer that. Maybe that wouldn't be true, but you could infer that this is someone who is going to be supportive of an attack against a police officer rather than the other way. So, it's a question you're not really allowed to ask a judicial candidate. They can't answer. They can't say, this is how I would rule in this case, because they just can't. But as a voter, maybe it's something you'd find relevant.
Yeah, it is. It's a whole And again, like I say, we have been kind of doing a little bit out here in Riverside County in the last elections. Like the Riverside Republican Assembly, their counterparts in San Bernardino and other groups have gotten the judges' names out there. And, okay, and it's really funky with the judges because they can't even tell you if they're registered as a Republican or make any political statements per se as it. So it's kind of hard. You kind of have to infer, okay, if these guys are endorsing them, they're probably tough on crime or they're not tough on crime. So we have made it a very difficult process in that. So like I say, that's a big effort that really needs some attention. I want to shift gears because HJTA put out a press release. It's got some good news, not so good news, but we want to report it like it is. You collected 500,000 signatures on repeal the death tax, but it's not going to be on the November ballot. Explain what our options are, Susan Shelley.
Okay, well, it's very difficult to qualify something for the statewide ballot, especially a constitutional amendment. The threshold is 12% of the number of people who voted in the last gubernatorial election, which was 875,000 people. So we needed 875,000 valid signatures. You only have about 6 months or less to do it, and you have to educate people about the issue, and you have to do all the logistics to get the petition into their hands. And we worked very hard at that. And we did get nearly 560,000 signatures, which is a very significant amount, but not enough. So the next steps are twofold. The legislature is the institution that created this in the first place. They created the parent-child transfer exclusion so that parents could transfer property to their kids without having it be reassessed to market value. It did not count as a change of ownership. And that applied to a house of any value, your home, and a certain amount of other property, a limited amount. That was the law for more than 30 years. Well, now it's not the law because Proposition 19 took it away. But the legislature could once again put it in. They could put it on the ballot for voter approval if they wanted to. So the question is, how long does it take to get the political pressure where everybody knows this has happened? Because so many people don't. For 30 years, it was like that, where you could pass property to your children. It's a terrible rude awakening when you get this letter at such a terrible time saying your property is going to be reassessed to market value and here's your new tax bill. That is shocking. But it hasn't happened. Assessors being kind of far behind on the processing because it's so complicated and people not having the experience yet, people don't know. So as the pressure builds, the legislature could fix this. That's one option. And the other option is to try the initiative again. And as people learn more about this, more and more people will sign it. So we may do that. We're going to try and collect more data, and we're going to review everything that we did and see what delivered the most signatures, which advertising or which market or which time. We're going to look at all of that. And then we're probably going to put up sign-up forms on the website at repealthedeathtax.com so that people who want to do this again can sign up in advance. And that way, if we do this again, we'll have everybody's address immediately. We can get the petitions out to them. That's kind of where we are right now.
So if we, out here in the IE, if we elect a state senator, Cynthia Navarro in our assembly districts, Leticia Castillo in 58 and Hector Diaz in 60 to join Bill Lasaley in 63, and our state senator Kelly Sayarto, which I think is carrying the legislation, which
Yes.
are doing it. That's what we can do right now in this cycle to further forward getting rid of this death tax. We got about a minute and a half, so you can wrap up on that and tell them why they should join HJTA.
Well, definitely join HJTA and sign up for the free email alerts so that you stay informed on all of this because there's no time to lose. And coming up to this big November election, and even now in the March primary, you're going to want to get the Howard Jarvis endorsements from the PAC and see who in your area is recommended by the Taxpayers Association because you want to make sure, just as you said, that we elect people who are conscious of how much it costs in taxes for the people of California already. And not these people who are there now in Sacramento who mostly just want to raise your taxes over and over again. That has to end. Go to hjta.org, click join us and be a member of this great organization.
Thanks for being on, Susan. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, Roy.
That's it. Susan Shelley, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. On that, and again, it won't, the repeal the death tax won't be on the November ballot, but we can elect some assembly members, state senators, and possibly get her off. Standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, in the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to PatriotSwitch.com. If you need a new Subaru or Toyota, go to one of Cliff Cummings' great dealerships in the San Bernardino Auto Mall at the 10 and 215 freeways. Don't forget I-10. Toyota down in the lower desert. Man, you got your marching orders like that. Yeah, local elections, Riverside, Haas in Ward 1. Pick them. I'm comfortable with Robillard or Avery in 3, Sean Mill in 5. That's your local elections there. We got a couple of judges. Full, I think is his name. In that, we'll get some more info on that. Our local election centers, if you want to repeal the death tax: Cynthia Navarro, Senate District 31, Assembly District 58, Leticia Castillo, Assembly District 60, get rid of canine hating Corey Jackson and Mark Hector Diaz on this ballot, and then we're in for November for let's say a big political fight. Maybe they'll start endorsing the Republic. Maybe Corey Jackson will endorse Hector Diaz, like Schiff is endorsing Garvey and Porter's endorsing Early. It cracks me up. Hey, we'll take the help anywhere. We're so bad in the center right out here. We'll take the help anywhere we can get it. Coming back, man, it's a crazy. We keep saying that, it really is. It's getting to be a flat, bizarro world of what everything's going on that. Wow. Takes a lot for me to say wow. It's mandatory you're back here in 22 hours. Why? To hear the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya!
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Got it.